So a really weird thing happened when I got home. So I talked to you pretty much until I drove
I didn't
into
realize
my
I
driveway.
talked. I was gonna say I didn't realize how long we talked on the phone for. And guys, we're that fucking gay where we're consistently talking to each other right before we're about to do the podcast. We almost started having an impromptu podcast, and we're like, we need to shut the fuck up about tonight, but yeah. So what happens?
So I get home, like as I'm going in the the driveway, I hang up with you.
That's baller.
And there's this little girl who has a box of something, and she's like a couple houses down, and she's walking away from my house. I'm like, she's selling something, and clearly she's already knocked on our door. I'm in the clear.
Nope.
So I'm getting out of my car, and I turn around, and there's this, like, you see my driveway. Like, my driveway is really deep. It's like 3 cars deep.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah.
So you have to really walk onto my property to get to where my car parks.
That's true. You really do.
So I get out of the car, grab my laptop, and I turn around, and this little girl is standing like 4 feet away from me.
Nope, I'm out.
Like right in my fucking face. And
I'm getting in the car and driving right over her. This is the stuff of horror. Like, I thought this was going in a horror movie direction.
So yeah, I'm that guy who, like, don't try to sell me something, especially in my own property. I don't give a shit if you're 10 years old or you're 80 years old. So she's like, would you like to buy? And I was like, no. And I just started to walk. Like, I had to walk by her to get to my door. And she's like,
what was she selling? Do you know what she was selling?
it looked like chocolate bars.
Okay.
Like
I'm not into that, but
So I'm like walking away, and she, under her breath, says, I guess you don't support the arts. And I'm like, what the fuck? I wanted to turn around and be like, listen here, bitch. But she was 10 years old, and I know her parents would have come knocking, interrupted the podcast.
Wicked smart, wicked cool, wicked fucking stupid, whatever the fuck. Something wicked.
I'm baking like a Georgia teaser. It's so hot here.
My boy's wicked smart.
Cause the boy is hotter than hot. He's hot. Hot!
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I just realized this pretty late, but a lot of MCU movies have colons. And I'm not talking about the body part, but rather a precursor to the title of the sequel. Like, I don't know, it's just a random thought. Like, if you ever see, like, most movies, I'm like, oh shit, I didn't realize it wasn't like Thor 2. It's just Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah. I guess I didn't realize that either. I always just call it
Thor 2.
Thor 2. Or,
Yeah.
yeah. Damn, there are a lot of colons in MCU.
Yeah.
Civil War
It's
is
kinda-
a colon.
Civil War's a colon. First Avengers a colon. Winter
Yeah.
Soldier's a colon.
The only one that's not is Iron Man. None of the Iron Mans are colons.
Yeah, none of the Iron Mans are. Avengers, I guess, is a colon too.
Thor Ragnarok isn't, though. It's just called Thor Ragnarok. No,
Thor
colon.
Ragnarok. Are you sure it's not Thor colon Ragnarok?
I don't
know.
think
I
it
feel like
is.
this is a searchable thing. But anyway, guys, welcome to another episode of Wicked Hot. Obviously, as we just discussed, we really didn't discuss it, but based on our current conversation, I think you could deduce a little bit that it is still Wicked Hot Marvel Month. So welcome again, guys. We are super excited to get into another episode. And I guess I'll just drop it. I mean, obviously we're doing villains this time around. One of the weaker points of the MCU, unfortunately. I mean, I don't know, Kevin, like thoughts on like MCU villains in general.
Yeah, I know. Researching this stuff, so we're going to talk about like the MCU versus the comic book villains. Researching this stuff, there's so much depth to these villains. It's weird thinking about the MCU version of it and being like, damn, they didn't touch on half this shit.
Dude, yeah, the MCU versions for most of them, not all, but most, are so one-dimensional. It's honestly like really crazy how how fucking better they are. Like, like those fucking like asshole people are like, the book was better than the movie. I was like, fuck that shit, because I can't see it, But like this time I could see and read it. It adds a new whole thing. And this is why I'm not against books with pictures in them.
Like adult books?
Yeah. Well, adult books makes it sound like it's like those porno books that are always on sale at Barnes & Noble. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, they're also on sale on Amazon, like the rating app.
Dude, the reading masturbation market must be like discounts all day.
Yeah. Because it's not like porn. You don't just like fast forward to the best part. It's like you got to read.
That's an investment.
45 minutes reading up to the sex that's going to happen.
Dude, the porn book is an investment. And honestly, I feel like it's almost cheating in a way. Because at this point, you're getting invested. Like, the people's names, what they like. And then it's just, like the sexy reading stuff comes up and you're like, fuck, like, I mean,
you feel like this person.
I've never read a porn book ever in my life, but I'm sure they're fucking hilarious. I definitely.
This got so off topic. I don't even know how to bring it back.
Yeah, I don't either. I really don't either. But yeah, guys, we got a lot of cool villains coming your way. We're really excited for this episode. I think it's going to break down for people that aren't really into the comics. Might get people into comics, honestly. I really think that this might get, because like the stories that you can get from, and again, I never really got into like all the Marvel stuff aside from Spider-Man, this big into it until I saw the movies, and the lore and the stories and everything else that comes through it is really fucking good. Like, I am like surprised at how good it is.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because I'm definitely not a comic book guy. Like, I'm not nerding out on this episode. Like, I had to do so much research. Like, this isn't shit that I knew. So this like really pushed me to be like, damn, some of these backstories are really fucking crazy, and how they intertwine. Like, they made this whole universe. Like, I know the MCU is like a really vast universe, but the comic book Marvel universe is like, so it's like 100 times bigger than the MCU, and how everything intertwines. Like, reading about it was so fucking crazy for me. It like blew my dick off.
Seriously, man. All right, guys. Well, if you guys want your dicks blown off, just stick around for a couple more seconds. We're getting into our topics, comparing and contrasting villains from the MCU and comics, starting in 3, 2, 1. Get into it.
I am Iron Man.
We do this all day. I am Thor, son of Odin.
And Hulk. Smash.
Dormammu, I come to bargain.
The Black Panther has been a protector of Wakanda for generations. The mantle passed from warrior to warrior.
Whoa, you're the Avengers! Hey, you know what? There's another name you might know me by.
Star-Lord.
Who?
Star-Lord, man. Legendary outlaw.
Every time I listen to that fucking mid-top, like the topic intro,
the Marvel
it seriously gets my dick hard. Like, I'm like, nice. Fuck, it's so fucking good. So kudos to the master editor, Kevin.
Thank you.
But yeah, guys, so let's just jump right in. Again, we're doing villains from the MCU and comparing them to their comic counterparts. So yeah, let me just get right into it. So I'm starting off with maybe one of the most evil and notorious villains in Marvel ever. Even an Eternal like Thanos cannot beat the pure evil of Red Skull. So I'm doing Johann Schmidt, Red Skull, and Captain America: First Avenger. Guy's a Nazi. I mean, we've talked about this. That's like the ultimate evil. I don't care who you are. Like,
yeah, Thanos just like hates stuff. Red Skull is a straight up Nazi. Like, it's hard to beat. There's nothing more evil than a Nazi. So you just automatically lose when you're up against a Nazi.
Yeah, Thanos is like, I will destroy everyone ever, and they're like, well, but he's a Nazi though. Like,
yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know. Like, but yeah, so just giving a little backstory on Red Skull. So first evil thing involved with him, and this is just to kind of like, this is like the little appetizer for the evil. this guy just goes balls deep. So his first evil thing, he attempted rape on a girl he liked and then murdered her in the process.
Wow.
Oh, and by the way, he liked it. Just I needed to put that.
He didn't
in there.
regret
Like,
it or anything.
Not at all. He was like, "Oh fuck." Actually, it was not too bad.
I can get used to this. I get used to this raping and murdering thing.
So he actually gets involved with the Nazis when he meets Hitler, when he's a bellhop in a hotel, and he's basically recruited at that very moment. Apparently, with a couple other comics, like later on in the future, it shows Red Skull or Johann Schmidt at the time, knowing that Hitler was going to be there, so that way he can kind of like force his way into like the regime. So once he actually was recruited by Hitler, he went through a lot of brutal training, and reported directly to Hitler. And Hitler actually is the one that gave him the Red Skull mask as a form of intimidation towards others, and he was also just in charge of all terrorist and espionage activities for the Nazis during World War II. And this actually, interestingly enough, led to the United States using Steve Rogers in Project Rebirth to become Captain America. And despite all of Red Skull's like early successes and like the pride Hitler had in him, Red Skull actually hated being Hitler's subordinate.
Oh,
he subversively like used Hitler's fear of him, of Hitler's fear of him and defeat, like losing World War II, to construct what later on becomes in the comics the Sleepers, which are basically war machines that Hitler thought would be used to destroy the world if the Nazis lost. But Red Skull actually was just like, no, I'm gonna use these to conquer the world when you're gone, like when I don't need you anymore. But
so the real mastermind behind the Nazis was Hugo Weaving.
Basically, I mean, Red Skull, as far as I know they went like a lot more like literal when he killed like those Nazi people, and he's like, I like, you guys are just a means to an end.
In the movie, yeah.
Right, but I still think that he believed in like the Nazi ideology, but then he actually used Baron von Strucker, which they use in Avengers: Age of Ultron. This guy, the Baron von Strucker, is around the same time as Red Skull, and he actually puts him in like Japan, and they basically set up the organization that ends up becoming Hydra.
That's interesting because like I know in the movie they never really, at least that I can remember, they never really talk about the Nazi. Like it's always about the Hydra thing, the you know what they're doing. They're never like, oh yeah, we got to get back to killing those Jews. It's never. That's definitely out of the words of like every German. Oh yeah, we got to get back to it. Back to those Jews. Yeah, I guess it never really is mentioned, but I know that he mentions like when he recovers this is, of course, we're talking about First Avenger, not the comic version of Red Skull. But in First Avenger, he talks about the Tesseract and getting it back to the Fuhrer, I thought. Yes, he does say that. I know he says that.
Okay.
But there's no like, he's not trying to really push the Nazi agenda in the movie.
No, in the movie, he's definitely on his own agenda. And I think that pays kind of homage to how Red Skull is just kind of like, fuck Hitler. I'm going to kind of do my own thing, so I'm the one on top. Which I guess kind of lines up with how he's just not into the whole Nazi thing at all. He's just kind of using them as an ability to further his power. Yeah.
It's like basically his army in a way. Right. It just happens to be Nazis, and like they could do whatever the fuck they want.
Right. So in the movie, obviously, like Cap, Bucky, and Red Skull meet. So in the comics, they also all meet during World War II. And they basically keep meeting all the way to the end of the war, where Red Skull is eventually defeated and left in suspending animation, presumed dead. So like his whole base kind of falls on him. He somehow in the dirt is suspended in like a fucking hyper sleep or whatever the fuck. So there's actually a weird period when he's in that suspended animation where a communist revolutionary actually takes up the mantle of Red Skull. And it's more of in a tongue-in-cheek kind of way because it's the Red Skull, you know, like red scare, like the whole like red. When you think of red, you think of like communism.
Yeah.
And he never actually associates himself with Nazism. Like
Really?
at like the communist guy, he's just using Red Skull as like, oh, I'm Red Skull because it's like communist or whatever. So Johann Schmidt actually comes back. So he leaves suspended animation, he comes out, and this communist Red Skull actually is still in power or doing whatever he's doing, and he backs down because he knows the real Red Skull's back.
Oh,
And he doesn't
shit.
challenge him at all for the mantle, which it's funny enough. Johann Schmidt actually kills him anyway because he thinks he tarnished the Red Skull name. So he's just like, I'm just gonna fucking kill you anyway.
You might as well have just fought for it.
Yeah. So then we get into like the whole, and this is, they explore this in, you know, the MCU Captain America vs. Avenger, but it's the whole storylines involving Red Skull and the Cosmic Cube. So Red Skull, and obviously the Cosmic Cube is replaced by the Tesseract because, I mean, it's still kind of like the same deal, but I don't think Tesseract is ever mentioned in the comics. It's always Cosmic Cube. That was
Like
that was
that
created.
word, Tesseract, is never mentioned.
I don't believe so. I know Cosmic Cube was created by the Skrulls, which are an alien race, and actually we'll talk about them later. But yeah, I think Cosmic Cube, like the Tesseract in the MCU, replaces the item Cosmic Cube.
Okay.
But yeah, so this storyline is actually Red Skull has the Cosmic Cube on his person, and he's actually assassinated by the Winter Soldier. And his subconscious actually fuses with the cube. So the cube has a subconscious, and he possesses a Russian general, which is Alexander Lukin, and who wanted the cube for himself. And he because he wanted the cube and he had it in his possession, like Red Skull was able to kind of infiltrate his own body. And eventually Agent 13, I don't know if you're familiar with Agent 13.
Yeah, she is the blonde chick from Winter Soldier and Civil War.
Yes. Okay. So she actually kills the host, the body host. But Red Skull, this guy like can't die. Like he just continually
He's like a parasite.
He escapes death because his mind is placed into robots, and he eventually becomes like a clone version of himself. So it kind of gets pretty like the guy just can't fucking die. Like he's just either suspended animation or he's constantly moving on to robot bodies, which is,
after reading so much about these villains, that's like a common theme. Is like, oh, he dies in this issue number 34, but in this series, issue 25, he comes back and he was not dead. He was in the body of a dog the whole time.
so he goes back from issue 34 to 25. How riveting.
No, it's like a whole new series. It's like a whole new series.
Oh, a whole new a whole new series. Okay. Gotcha. No, that's usually how it works. Honestly, I feel like when they die, they like, for comic publications, it's like about a year, and then they come back to life.
It's like, everybody forgot that he died.
Yeah. Or it's not like they make like a whole dramatic thing about it. It just jumps like right into like, here's the new comic series. Oh shit, Red Skull's just alive. We're just accepting this now.
It's
okay,
like they have
fine.
like an iPhone calendar reminder to go off. It's like, it's been a year since Red Skull died. And that's when they start writing like the new story for Red Skull.
Yeah. But yeah, so going towards later years, the character we know in the MCU is so different from the current Red Skull. But I know there was a fan theory out there, actually, like fan theory / rumor, that Alexander Pierce, which is the villain from Winter Soldier that was played by Robert Redford,
Oh, okay.
was a possessed Red Skull, which I would have been 100% down for. Plus, Red Skull disappears when he touches the Tesseract. Never mentioned at
never
all
says
that he dies. Right.
I can't remember. Does Robert Redford's character die at the end?
I think he does. Yeah,
It would
I
make
think he
sense
does.
because they all die.
yeah,
Spoiler, they all fucking die.
yeah, all villains die.
They have the ability to, if that guy didn't die, they have the ability to bring him back as
Right,
Robert
as-
Redford.
As Red Skull.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
That's why. Sorry, that's what I was getting at. If he
Okay.
still has the ability to come back, because like, he is like so far one of the best villains, and he dies the soonest of all of them.
which really sucks. I know,
does.
and he has so much potential. I will say the only thing that the comic never mentions and that the movie just kind of like went off on was when when Johann Schmidt is like telling Captain America that he was also experimented on by Stanley Tucci. I don't even know his German like scientist's name, but
Yeah.
I'm just like, it just sounds weird being experimented on by Stanley Tucci. It sounds like some real hardcore shit. But yeah, so he gets deformed because of the serum that he uses, and he gets like the Red Skull because of it.
Oh, okay.
In the comics, it's for sure a mask. Like that's definitely a mask.
I always wondered about that because when I was watching the movie, I'm like,
Doesn't
yeah,
make any
this is
fucking
fucking
sense.
weird, man. Like his face just looks like a literal red skull. Like I
Yeah.
always thought it was a mask until I saw the movie, which was recently. I never saw Captain America until like last month or last 2 months.
That's so fucking
So
crazy.
I was like, what the fuck is this?
yeah,
I
but, and
like that it was
also-
actually supposed to be a mask.
Yeah. I
Well,
like
in the
it
comics.
being I like it being a mask better because the fact that his real face was a rubber mask, fuck out of here, man. What? There is
Yeah.
no way that skin sack was a fucking rubber mask.
He had, I will say, being a Nazi and being in the 40s, like he had some good teeth.
Do Nazis not have good teeth?
Well, you figure they're out doing Nazi
That is
things.
the most that is the most fucking the craziest observation ever. You're like, yo, he was a Nazi. Those teeth though were looking mighty fine.
I didn't mean it like that. I mean, like, he was out doing Nazi things, doing Red Skull and Hydra things. Like, he didn't have time to visit a dentist. Yet his teeth are fucking flawless.
Jesus, I don't even know. I legitimately do not know even what to say to that. I really hate to do this again, Kevin, but I'm gonna have to transition based on the color red again. And it seems to have been like a 3-week red transition. But my guy's got a red skull. Your guy's also has a red skull, but it's attached to a red body. Fuck. I can't even. So yeah, tell me about your next guy.
My
man.
guy is like way more red than your guy because your guy only has a red skull. My guy has a red everything. And I'm talking about, I know I'm going to get a little bit of flack for this because you could say we haven't seen this villain yet, but I disagree. So this is Red Hulk. And I know
And
we've
again,
mentioned,
we talk about
we cannot go an episode without talking about either Hulk, Incredible Hulk, Red Hulk, Jennifer Connelly in the Hulk, or Liv Tyler, the worst actress on the planet,
or the color red.
or the color red. So mine is Red Hulk, and I know what you're going to say. We haven't seen this character or this villain yet, but I disagree, and we could talk about that at the end.
Okay.
So I'll talk about the comic book version of him because there's obviously no movie version of him yet.
Right.
So Red Hulk appeared in Hulk Volume 1, Issue 1 in January 2008, which is really recent. Because I know a lot of these,
it was like
a lot of these people go back like fucking decades. This is like
fuck, dude,
10 years ago.
Red Hulk didn't even exist during the Ang Lee Hulk.
No.
That's fucking crazy.
No. So it's hard to, I'm going to save this until the end. I'll give away his identity. I'm sure some people know it.
Okay.
But the Red Hulk was just like a whatever character in the first version of the Hulk, the comic books. And then he started to be like a huge villain in the Avengers series in 2011 to 2013. So he was kind of created to be like an equal to the Hulk because the Hulk really doesn't have anyone that's as powerful or that has as much rage as he does. So that's kind of why the Red Hulk was created, just to be, I think they say, like, he's everything the Green Hulk isn't. Like, he's smart, he plans things tactically. Like, the Hulk never plans anything. It's just like Hulk smash, like, constantly.
Right. Red Hulk goes on Travelocity to make those plans. He's making he's making those vacation plans.
Exactly. So at the beginning of the 2008 series, he's portrayed as like being very aggressive, and he just like straight up murders a bunch of Hulk villains. So he murders Wendigo and Abomination.
Oh shit, wait, Red Hulk does?
Yes.
Oh fuck.
So you think like, oh wow, this guy's a pretty decent guy. No, he's not.
He's like, let's stop with all the recurring villain douchebaggery. I'm just gonna fucking end this shit right now.
He's like, I'm doing away with all these bullshit villains. I'm gonna be the main villain and the only villain.
Right.
So in other storylines, he is recruited by the Collector, which I didn't know the Collector was a villain.
Oh yeah, big time.
So he's recruited by the Collector to be in a villain team, and get this, it's called the Offenders. Very original.
That's that. I didn't even know that. That's a fucking name, a team name if I've ever heard one.
So he starts being a part of this Avengers, like a bad Avengers, and he eventually gets his own spin-off series in 2012, and it's called Code Red, and they start to like reveal his identity a little bit. They drop some hints on who he actually is, and interestingly enough, in this storyline, there is a character called Red She-Hulk, which I didn't even know there was a She-Hulk.
Oh yeah, there's a She-Hulk. She's part-time lawyer, part-time Hulk. I'm not even joking about that.
So it's funny because the Red She-Hulk could also be in the MCU soon, very soon.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. So basically all of these storylines come to a head when they pretty much battle it out. Green Hulk versus Red Hulk. And that's when you find out that Red Hulk is General Ross. So you find out that he's General Ross, which is like, when I was reading this, I was like, oh shit, no way. Because Ross is in Hulk.
Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, he's in Hulk. Cancel that movie out. But he's also in the MCU movie Incredible Hulk, and he's also in Civil War.
Right.
And when you see him...
Wait. So did they not reveal the identity of Red Hulk until like later on in the series?
They didn't reveal his identity until, I think he came out in 2008. They didn't reveal it until 2012.
Shit, that's a long time.
Yeah, that's a long time to not know who the fuck this guy is.
Right, because you're probably thinking like, because I was thinking to myself like, they must have really run out of ideas publication-wise. We're like, you know what, fuck it, we're just making a Red Hulk.
I know we talked about Red Hulk very briefly on a previous episode, and that's what I was thinking. I'm like, that's fucking stupid. He's just like regular Hulk, but he's red. Like that's the big allure to this guy.
Yeah, but the huge twist with who it is great.
Yeah, so they basically get in a huge scuffle, and this is actually where the leader comes back in. The guy from the scientist that gets the AIDS blood dripped into his fucking forehead. So they kind of team up, and this is actually a different series. So Abomination isn't dead. He hasn't killed Abomination yet.
Okay.
So the leader, him, and Abomination go to destroy Hulk along with Red She-Hulk, which is also his daughter. It's
Liv Tyler's?
Yes.
It's Liv
No,
Tyler?
it's Jennifer Connelly.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot.
So yeah, Red She-Hulk is Jennifer Connelly, and Red Hulk is William Hurt. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah, they get in a little scuffle, and it kind of comes out like his main powers. He enrages like Hulk does, but when he enrages, he gets like supernova hot. Like he can melt like sand into glass.
Oh shit! So he like his red actually signifies some sort of
So it's like a
element.
It's one of his powers is the red and the heat. But as he, like, the hotter he gets, the weaker he gets as well. So he can get so hot to where he literally just, like, goes back into, you know how Bruce Banner just, like, changes back into Bruce Banner?
Right.
He just gets so hot to where his powers all run out and he just turns back into General Ross. So it's kind of
Wait,
crazy.
so is this weakness? Like, you just keep pissing him off?
I guess so.
You literally just piss him off to where the point where he's like, you know what, fuck this, I'm going home. Like, mentality.
So he also has heat emitting eyes, kind of like Cyclops. So he
Or
can just
Superman, not to go into DC, but fuck, this guy sounds deadly as fuck.
Yeah, he can just like on a whim just like fucking blast somebody with his eyes.
Shit.
And his like towards the end of the storyline, it's revealed like how he became Red Hulk, where they're testing like different shit on him to like make him equal to Hulk, and they use like the same stuff that changes Hulk back to Bruce Banner. They have the satellite that changes him back, like shoots this fucking gamma radiation or whatever, and turns him back into Bruce Banner. So he uses that. And he uses cosmic rays. So that's the difference. It's like the gamma plus the cosmic rays give him the red skin, yellow blood, and like all these powers, like heat-related powers.
So he's literally like a super version of Hulk.
Yeah, and he's in the Hulk comics, he's like the main villain. Like he's Hulk's nemesis, like 100% nemesis.
And he is... And you said he could speak and is intelligent and stuff?
Yeah, you know, like when Bruce Banner turns into Hulk, he kind of loses all of his intelligence and just becomes
Bruce Banner shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So when Ross changes into Red Hulk, he still has all of his tactical abilities, all of his knowledge, and he can use it. And that's one thing that made him so deadly is like he can plan shit like a fucking general could, but he's also got the strength of like an entire army and Superman heat vision, and he can melt shit. Like he's got all these this shit behind him, and
he sounds like a 12-year-old's creation.
Yes, he
like
does.
Just super powerful. He's like, what would be better than Hulk? Red Hulk that has all his Hulk abilities and then all the ridiculous powers. Like Hulk being Hulk isn't enough.
It's like Stan Lee, you know, makes Hulk, and then who's his partner? Kirby?
Yeah, Jack Kirby.
Yeah, his partner's like, hey, I got this other idea. He's trying to one-up him. He's like, I got Red Hulk, same abilities as Green Hulk, except he gets super hot and shoots lasers out of his eyes. And Stanley's like, fuck, you got me.
Yeah, so actually, I can just like bacon meter off of Hulk, but you know how Hulk and Thor are like buddies in both the movies and the comics. I mean, well, the movies now, the comics forever. But my next villain actually is a Thor villain, and I'm talking about Malekith the Accursed in Thor: The Dark World. So I personally think that this guy was a villain with huge potential, and he was just wasted.
Really, because the movie begs to differ.
Yeah. Well, that I blame that on how bored and annoyed Christopher Eccleston looked throughout the entire movie. He actually later admitted that he acted that way because he actually needed money, and that's the only reason he did that movie.
No shit.
He said like he was coming off of his success as Doctor Who, and that's how he got that role. But he was like, I need money. I'm just going to take this, but I fucking hate every moment of it. And that's probably what made it shitty.
Damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it really sucks because like, I'll just get into it. But so Malekith in the comics, he's really fucking cool now. But his humble beginnings are, well, humble because he's kind of a bitch amongst the Dark Elf community.
Well, he looks like it in the fucking movies.
Yeah. So he actually went his first like real thing within like the comic history is that he was just a guy who burned bodies after like battle.
That was his fucking job.
Yeah.
Jesus.
He was like a cremator guy, you know, he just threw the bodies on pyres and shit.
That just reminds me of a couple weeks ago when we were talking about who killed Luke's aunt and uncle, and it's just like a rogue stormtrooper.
Yeah, it was Malekith.
It was Malekith.
So he actually so after that, like he becomes a wizard's apprentice, and he showed.
That sounds like a fucking Disney movie.
Yeah, it does. I think it is a Disney movie with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I think it is.
A sorcerer's apprentice.
Yeah,
that's
same
sorcerer.
thing. Same thing.
Yeah, sorcerer, wizard, magician, all the same shit. So, so Malekith got a position as a wizard's apprentice. He got that co-op, that internship as the wizard's apprentice, and he actually showed way more power and potential than most of all other magicians, and even more so than his master. So,
You make it sound like
so
he goes to kids' birthdays.
Vegas. So like everyone else is like on kids' birthdays level, he's like on like David Blaine, like
He's on like that Caesar's
opener at
Palace.
MGM, MGM Grand opener like level.
He's got that 3-month
Retainer.
for Caesar's Palace. Yeah, everyone else is doing kids' birthdays.
Exactly. So he actually ends up killing the wizard because they had difference of opinions on dark elves being constantly at war. So like the wizard's like, oh shit, like you're really powerful. We could use you to, bring everyone together, but like in a peaceful way and stuff, like all this like warmongering. And Malekith was not having any of that. He's like, no, actually, I think war has made me exactly who I need to be, and I'm going to continue it. So he kills the wizard, but not before the wizard he casts a spell that makes half his face black, which is how the character appears to this day. They did kind of a similar thing with Malekith in Thor: The Dark World, where actually Thor like shoots lightning at his face and only like burns half his face. But Malekith always appears with like one half of his face blue because all the dark elves are like a blue color.
Yeah.
And then his other face is like legitimately just like black. It's not even it's burnt. It's just like half of it's black. So I'll just say this, like through a series of events that I thought really weren't pertinent to bring up, Malekith eventually finds himself in hell after Curse, which is a dark elf that Malekith betrays, snaps his neck and supposedly kills him. So, so Malekith is in hell, but eventually he gets broken out of hell by a couple of loyal dark elves, and they all return to, and I may be saying this wrong, but this is how I think it's supposed to say. Is it Svartalfheim? Svartalfheim?
I'm not even going to weigh in on that.
Malekith's homeworld. But he gets there and he sees that it's all weak and no one's going to accept him as their new ruler. So he basically was like, all right, if none of you guys are going to actually accept me and y'all are still weak, he vows that he's going to kill all of the dark elves who won't follow him. And he basically starts hunting everyone down like throughout all the other like realms. And
damn, he took it way in the opposite direction.
Yeah. So this is kind of where he gets like badass. And like throughout this entire thing, he forges an alliance with the Frost Giants of Jotunheim. And during this entire time, there's like a huge civil war between the Dark Elves. Thor involves himself when he learns about Malekith, like hunting down other Dark Elves and massacring them all. And so Thor is at this point in the story, he basically is about to kill Malekith. But at this very moment, the Dark Elf Council intervenes and like, hey, this guy's the most feared and respected of the Dark Elves now at this point. So we're just going to make him the leader, which is basically how the Dark Elf culture in Thor works. So the most feared and is the most respected. And the most respected, they basically are like, all right, you're going to be king now. So
I'm thinking
Malekith
just like, why don't you just let Thor kill him and then your problem is solved?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. They're like, no. He's become enough of a problem where we're like, yeah, okay, he could be leader now.
We'll keep him around. Like he fucks our shit up, but we'll keep him around because
exactly.
Like just because.
So in the more recent iterations of Thor, and for anyone out there, and I don't know if he listens to the show, but I got to give a shout out to Jim does a Star Wars comic at OBS Kenobi on Twitter because he really got me into this new Thor series, which is fucking incredible. But so in the more recent iterations, it's actually Jane Foster who's Thor. And
that was like the whole controversy of having like a woman Thor. So it was actually Jane Foster.
Right. So basically what happens is Thor becomes
AKA
unworthy.
Natalie Portman.
Yes. AKA Natalie Portman. Thor becomes unworthy. And at this point, Jane Foster just happens to pick up the hammer and becomes worthy. Also, she's dying of cancer throughout the entire thing. So there's like that
Convenient
dynamic.
plot device.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, so during this entire like Mighty Thor storyline, Malekith is actually, he's on a war path to conquer all the realms, and he basically makes war and eventually conquers the first realm, which is the realm, I think it's called Alfheim, which is the realm of the Light Elves. So he takes over it, then he destroys like most of the Light Elves. And again, throughout most of the series and even before this, he's known to make a lot of pacts, like I said, with the Frost Giants and Loki, which, interestingly enough, they're bacon metered by Laufey, who's the Frost Giant leader. So Malekith promises to bring back Laufey, and it's just funny because it's Loki's father, and he makes a pact with Loki, and then it's also like the Frost Giants like main leader that I think, and I'm pretty sure he's also featured in Thor 1.
So that's Loki's dad?
Yeah, Laufey.
That's a fucking original name.
Yeah.
It's like, what's
he's
my name? Laufey? How about Loki? I'll just replace it with a K.
Yeah, so you know how like Thor is Thor Odin's son? It's Loki Laufey's son.
That Odinson is a badass name.
Laufey's son is like, you're a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a bitch last name.
But yeah, so again, it sucks because on paper, Malekith seems pretty fucking cool in Thor the Dark World. I mean, the whole thing is like he wants revenge against Asgard for being defeated by Odin's father, Bor, and his whole relationship to the Aether, which is the Reality Stone that we know, is non-existent in the comic. There's no mention of the Aether. There's no mention of Reality Stone with Malekith in possession of it. But I honestly, like, after rereading kind of like the synopsis of Malekith's whole thing, like, on paper, he sounds fucking great. And I think it would have been awesome, but it just was poorly done. Just, it's probably because of Christopher Eccleston.
Yeah. That whole movie in general is just really forgettable. After a good first movie and a good third movie, it's like, damn, they really fucked this series up with The Dark World. And it starts with the fucking villain just phoning it in for a paycheck.
Yeah. And it really sucks because I'm pretty sure like the first movie after that was like this. Well, it was the second movie after Avengers. The first one was Iron Man 3. So we had Iron Man 3 and then Thor 2, and we're like, I don't know. I'm starting to kind of like,
yeah.
I think the Avengers may have tapped out, and then that's about it.
That was honestly when I thought that we weren't going to have any more Marvel movies, or they were going to reboot the series.
Yeah.
Because Iron Man 3 and Thor Dark World, the Dark World were horrible movies. What was after that? Do you know?
Yeah, so after Dark World is actually Winter Soldier and then Guardians of the Galaxy. So that's kind of where they like came back.
They brought it back. Yeah, thank God.
Yeah. I mean, after that was Age of Ultron. And by the way, just to like kind of fact check us from last episode, we were talking about Phase 1 and Phase 2. Phase 2 doesn't end with Age of Ultron. It actually ends with Ant-Man.
That's what I thought. That is what
Civil War. Civil War is the beginning of Phase 3.
Okay, so I guess it's like every time they have some type of major conflict, that's when a phase starts, I think.
Yeah. So, and just out there for everyone, Phase 4 doesn't start until after the second Avengers Infinity War.
Okay, that's good to know.
According to the wiki. So I don't know if that could change, because considering like the next Infinity War is untitled.
Well, isn't it basically
Part 2?
Disney presents Marvel's The Infinity War Part 2.
The Avengers Part 2, starring Iron Man. Yeah, probably something along those lines. Malekith, all right guy, better in the comics, shitty in the movies. I think you also got a pretty shitty movie villain for me, but that ends up being kind of cool in the comics.
Yeah, in the comics, the backstory, because like, okay, so I'll just say that mine is Whiplash from, and you wouldn't know this because they never call him that. It's from Iron Man 2. Mickey
They don't
Rourke.
call him that, right? They call him like his Russian name, right?
Yeah, they never call him by Whiplash.
I know how much you love that.
That's like my one pet peeve about the MCU is like they need to say the villain's name throughout the movie so I know, like, oh, that's Whiplash. That's not, oh, that's Mickey Rourke. Because that's what I
Right.
think.
Yeah, so Whiplash.
So Whiplash. So there's like a shit ton of stuff about Whiplash. I did the closest one related to the movie, which is actually kind of a twofer for the movie.
Okay.
So this version of Whiplash, his name is actually Anton Venko, and he's a scientist from a Russian village named Volstok.
Okay.
And one day, the village was attacked by somebody in an Iron Man suit, and he murders like a fuck ton of people, including Venko's dad, Igor Venko.
Oh shit.
So
Obviously, I'm assuming it wasn't Iron Man, right?
no, this pretty much happens in an attempt to frame Tony Stark for whatever reason.
Okay.
And then as the imposter Iron Man is like leaving or flying away, Venko has a specialized rifle that he shoots at Iron Man, and his chest piece or his chest plate comes off, and Venko gets it. And over the next 6 months, he's like obsessed with reverse engineering the chest thing, the energy generator for the suit. So he's like masterfully crafting this new thing, which happens to be the whips that you see kind of in the movie, because it's not like the exact same.
I will say the one redeeming quality of Iron Man 2 is that fucking Monaco scene.
That is the best scene of the entire movie. When fucking what's his nut is just.
I actually think that must be like the best scene out of all the Iron Man movies, personally.
Yeah, when he's just fucking whipping back and forth, like cutting these cars up like they're nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the comic books, that's pretty much what he's making.
Okay. Are the whips.
Yeah, the whips. So he's reverse engineering the chest to make the whips, and kind of like an exoskeleton, but not like not like an Iron Man suit, more like just an exoskeleton type thing that isn't like as powerful.
Like a frame.
Right. So he finally figures this shit out, and while Tony Stark is being held in prison for these crimes that he supposedly did against Volstok, Whiplash breaks in an attempt to kill Tony Stark and Pepper Potts, which I don't know why the fuck she's at prison. Like, is she visiting him? Like, how is this woman in a maximum security facility for men?
Were they? Was she like visiting at the time?
That's
maybe?
what I'm hoping.
Yeah,
because this whole backstory, I was like, that was the thing that stuck out. I'm like, how the fuck is she there?
I mean, Gwyneth Paltrow's deserves to be in an insane asylum as a human being,
yes.
But yeah, I don't know about a maximum security prison for men.
So this is when it kind of just like flies off the rails. So Tony Stark has been apparently, while in prison, building an Iron Man suit out of machines and whatnot that he's finding in the prison. Like, I don't know how the fuck
Dude,
he's
that
hiding
prison
this.
the prison shop class must get a lot of funding. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, he's got a whole fucking Iron Man suit. Prison funded Iron Man suit. So they battle it out, and Whiplash kills like a fuck ton of people, and eventually he flees after backup comes, and it's kind of revealed that Iron Man was framed by this crazy terrorist group that was funded by the US, Russia, and most importantly, Vladimir Putin. And
wait, they actually say Putin?
Yes. So in the comics, let me remind you, they destroyed an entire city and killed everybody, including this crazy fuck's father. They did it
and
because
Putin was behind it.
They did it because they wanted to, quote unquote, wipe out an activist who was creating anti-Putin sentiment.
Why would the US be involved in that?
I don't know, but that seems like a really an extreme reason to kill everybody in a city. Like, you just don't like what this guy's writing, so you're going to kill an entire city? Like, why don't you just wipe this one guy out?
Well, because then it's too conspicuous. Although this, in all honesty, seems like a real Putin move, not to be political, but I mean, we can all agree the guy's sketchy as fuck.
Yeah, no, I would agree. So this all comes out, and Tony Stark is actually freed because he clearly didn't do it, so he's freed from prison.
Right.
And then, like, after Venko figures this out, he's not like, okay, no big deal. Sorry, my bad. He still tries to kill Stark because he says that his technology is what killed Volstagg, which is, like, really reaching. That's not a thing at all. Like, you can't blame the gun makers.
Yeah.
So Stark's cleared of the charges by then, and he actually helps rebuild Volstagg.
Okay, well, that's charitable.
It is, yeah. So that's pretty much the end of the Whiplash comic book storyline, except for in the Infinity storyline, which is kind of where we are now in the MCU. Whiplash is actually recruited by Spy Master, which I have never fucking heard of in my life. And
I've heard him, yeah.
They go after Stark Tower while they're all the Avengers are out doing Infinity stuff.
Okay.
So that's pretty much the last we hear of Whiplash. So the movie version, his father, Igor Vinko, works for Howard Stark, right? Works for Howard Stark.
I think so, yeah.
And he, like, basically gets fucked out of this money. Like, yeah. So, I mean, I know how the MCU is, and I'll get to that later because I have another one that's like they're trying to make a connection where there is no connection.
Right.
It's like him just being fucked over by Tony Stark, like, supposedly isn't enough. Like, they have to make it this whole fucking backstory, which, like, sometimes I think they do too much of rather than sticking with the source material.
Oh, I 100% agree. It honestly, and I'm just thinking of, like, most of Iron Man's villains in the MCU specifically, like Obadiah Stane, Jeff Bridges, thinks he's getting fucked over by Tony Stark, so he becomes Ironmonger.
Yeah.
Anton Vanko, his dad got fucked over by Howard Stark, so he's going to become a villain. Aldrich Killian becomes the Mandarin and all this crazy shit because Tony Stark was thinking with his penis the night that they met, and then he had to watch fireworks by himself. Like, fuck out of here, dude. Like, get over yourself, man.
Yeah, and it's like because I read about the Mandarin, I read about Aldrich Killian when I was researching this. Their backstories are fucking insane. Like, my head hurt after reading about the Mandarin. That's why you're not going to hear about it in this episode, because like, there is an entire episode full of backstory and
Mandarin exhibition,
weird shit, like 10 Rings stuff that we would have to explain in an entire episode. It's like the backstories that they use in the comics, like, aren't even like sometimes not even touched on in the movies, and it's really disappointing.
Yeah, because it'd be nice to get some sort of exposition.
Yeah,
when it comes to 10 Rings.
Yeah. So in the movie, that's kind of how it plays out. But he's actually a combination. The movie version of Whiplash is a combination of, maybe this is why they don't use his name. He's a combination of two comic book villains.
Okay,
so obviously Whiplash, and then never heard of this villain before, Crimson Dynamo. I'm such a bad comic book explainer.
No,
like, I've never heard of this guy. Apparently, he's a big ass fucking villain. It's Crimson Dynamo.
I've never heard of Crimson Dynamo either. I know that Dynamo is like a Russian, like NHL team, not NHL, but like worldwide. I think so. Yeah, Crimson Dynamo.
So in the movie, his armor. So Crimson Dynamo in the comic books is like a Russian version of Iron Man.
Okay,
and in the movie, that's why I said, like, it doesn't really correlate from the comic book to the movie, because his armor in the movie is more like Crimson Dynamo's. It's really not like Whiplash's at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's kind of why In the movie, they use the Venko name because the Whiplash that I'm talking about, Anton Venko came out after the comic book came out after Iron Man 1 was already out.
Oh, okay. So
So-
Whiplash didn't even exist as a character until
It did.
Iron Man.
It was a different character that had like no correlation to this story.
Oh, okay.
But the
Okay.
Anton Venko comic book version is the closest to. It almost seems like they wrote this to kind of be a backstory to the Iron Man 2 version.
Okay.
So, same name, Anton Venko, but most of the mannerisms, other than the whips, are indicative of Crimson Dynamo. So it's
Oh, shit.
maybe
Okay.
maybe that's why they never said his name, because you could think that he's Whiplash or you could think that he's Crimson Dynamo. You kind of have to
Right.
make it up.
So Kevin, your guy whips, my guy accuses. My next dude is Ronan the Accuser in Guardians of the Galaxy.
I want people to know how long we debated over that transition.
Oh, this transition seemed the most appropriate. I didn't really know how to get from Iron Man to Guardians, but
You nailed it, though.
yeah.
You fucking nailed it.
I will say before I get into this guy, I'm happy finally to announce, and I'm pretty sure I'm late on this, but Marvel's finally decided to reuse a villain that isn't Loki.
Holy shit.
And I know you and I have discussed this, but I'm cautiously optimistic for Ronan making a reappearance in Captain Marvel. But I dig it. Like, I'm really happy they're actually like going to explore another character that isn't
Yeah.
Loki.
And I guess you should explain that I didn't know this. Captain Marvel takes place long before Guardians because he dies. Spoiler, he dies in Guardians 1.
Yeah. So it's definitely a prequel to Guardians, which I think is weird because I know that in Doctor Strange, one of the Easter eggs was Captain Marvel when he's in the car.
You know what
So
really
Doesn't make
Yeah.
fucking sense.
You know what cheeses me off about that whole continuity there? I just spent the last 2 months of my life watching the fucking Marvel series, MCU series, in chronological order.
So now it fucked up your chronological order.
Because now I've just seen Black Panther. Now I'm going to see Captain Marvel, which actually takes place before
Guardians.
pretty much everything. Before Iron Man.
I don't think pretty much anything. I honestly think that Guardians 1 and 2 are like the last ones until Infinity War. And I think maybe Doctor Strange, and then it's Captain Marvel,
Yeah,
and
but
then
if-
it's Guardians 1, 2.
If Captain Marvel doesn't Captain Marvel take place in the 90s?
Fuck, it does. I completely forgot
So
about
that's
that.
before. That's
Everything.
that's the second one because you got Captain America, First
Avenger,
and
yeah.
then it's Captain Marvel,
Right.
and then Iron Man, Hulk, Incredible Hulk.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're
That
right.
it fucked
That
up
screws
my
up-
entire.
That screws up
watching.
everything. So obviously from Captain Marvel, we have Ronan the Accuser. So it's kind of interesting actually. So Ronan joined. It's really stupid, but Ronan joined what the Kree Empire called the Accuser Corps, where Ronan excelled and basically became Supreme Accuser. So think of. I know it's really fucking
It's
stupid.
really easy to just accuse somebody. Like, how do you
Yeah.
become the best accuser?
Well, I think they may have taken it. So think of Ronan as like a Grand Moff Tarkin kind of character.
Oh, okay.
And so throughout most of his career as an accuser, Ronan consistently fought against the Skrulls, which are like huge enemies of the Kree Empire and basically of everyone. The Skrulls are kind of like the ultimate like evil alien race within Marvel. He actually also came into conflict with his own people. He tried to overthrow the Kree leader and start a civil war, but the original Captain Marvel stopped him and incarcerated him, which I'm happy to say, and I just realized this, the original Captain Marvel was being played by Jude Law in the Captain Marvel movie. And I had absolutely no idea about this, but
Really?
Captain Marvel, the original one, and like the new one are all Kree. But like the
So there could
Kree
be
are
like
like
a whole series
right.
with him.
And
Yeah, dude, I like that.
yeah, so the Kree are not just like blue people. Like the Kree are still. I mean, I don't know how, because like the original Captain Marvel in the comics just looks like a human, but he's like super powered. They're just humanoid kind of people.
Wait, he?
Well, the original Captain Marvel.
Really? The original Captain Marvel is a he?
Is a he, and then it becomes Carol Danvers, which is obviously who
Brie Larson.
what's her face?
Brie Larson
is playing as Captain Marvel. But the original Captain Marvel is being played by Jude Law in the movie. But
really? Oh wow.
yeah, so the original Captain Marvel is being played by Jude Law, and then so in the comics he stops Ronan from overthrowing the government and kind of just like throws him in jail, basically. So Ronan eventually escapes prison and leads a temporary coup against the Supreme Intelligence. So Supreme Intelligence is the leader of the Kree Empire, and it's basically a computer composed of all the smartest Kree minds. But I know it sounds really stupid. When talking about comics, it sounds fucking stupid. But yeah, he tried to overthrow Supreme Intelligence, and honestly, Supreme Intelligence seems like the real bad guy in this. And Ronan failed again, so he was actually mentally dominated by Supreme Intelligence and becomes nothing more than kind of like a lackey, just with no sort of like inhibition within him.
Damn.
But he eventually regains his independence and sanity. So there's a specific event within like the whole like cosmic Marvel universe, not the cosmic MCU, but like the cosmic like comics. There's an event called the Annihilation Wave. So it's just an armada of ships that are just like hell-bent on like destroying everything in the universe. And this is what's really fucking interesting that isn't even mentioned in Guardians. Ronan actually sides with Xandar and Nova many times during this event. And it's just weird because in Guardians, he fucking hates Nova Corps.
Yeah.
And we never get any sort of like explanation as to why.
Yeah. And there's no, like, them taking that out of there, there's no possible conflict in him. Because in the comics, I could see, like, if he's on the side of the good guys a couple times, like,
right,
they take that out of the movie version, and it's just like, okay, this guy's pure evil. Like every other MCU, it's like he has no conflict at all.
Right. He just hates the Nova Corps and Xandar for no fucking reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he works with the Nova Corps. He works with Xandar. He works with the hero I was telling you about, which is Nova, that we were hoping John C. Reilly would be.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, but like multiple times during their entire character history together. And it's so weird because Ronan is so different in the comics than he is in the movies. And honestly, I don't even know if like I could even consider him a villain, because it seems like he's definitely a villain, but it seems like he's mostly working with like the good guys for a means to an end, kind of like how Loki is, so more like anti-hero than villain.
Yeah, because in the movie, isn't he basically working for Thanos? Like he's not really working for himself. Like it sounds like he's working in the comic book.
Right. Well, it seemed like I guess in a way they kind of touched on him working for himself in a sense by working with Thanos, because they had to obviously bring Thanos into the mix. Right. But in Guardians 1, I mean, he's working towards destroying Xandar for himself, and Thanos is just a means to an end to make sure that happens.
Okay.
But yeah, it's crazy because I'm really hoping that they show him working with Nova and others during Captain Marvel, because that would just flip things completely.
It would at least give a little minuscule bit of depth to a villain that we haven't had ever since Loki alone.
Right. And we could even get on development on why he hates Xandar so much, and he's considered because even in Guardians, he's not really a representative of the Kree Empire. Because if you remember, like Glenn Close is like talking to that Kree guy, and she's like, Ronan is killing literally everyone. He's like, yeah, he's not part of us. He's rogue. He's like a zealot that doesn't really believe in.
Yeah, and it doesn't really explain that very well.
No, he's just like his own. He's like his own agent. He doesn't represent the Kree as a people.
Right.
So yeah, I'm definitely down to see what happens more with Ronan.
I am too, because I didn't hate Ronan as the villain in Guardians. I do think that he needed more development, but him as a villain, like, I liked Lee Pace.
I love Lee Pace. Yeah, he's great.
He looks like a bitch in every movie except
This one,
Guardians
he looks
and
so
Lord of the
badass.
Rings. Or
Seriously.
The Hobbit.
Yeah, The Hobbit, yeah.
Yeah. So every time I look at it, I'm like, God, he's so good as Ronan and he's so good in Hobbit. Like, why does he look like a bitch?
Yeah. It's kind of, he's like one of the villains that like flies on the radar, but like, I'm not mad about seeing Lee Pace again as Ronan.
Yeah, and I like the fact that Guardians has gone to like the comedy side of things, and I thought Lee Pace fit in, or his Ronan character like really fit in with that comedic style. So that's why I'm excited now that I know that he's going to be in Captain Marvel. I'm excited to see the movie because I want to see like if they're going to go the super serious route like Iron Man and Captain America, or they're going to go like the crazy funny route like Guardians or like Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, they definitely have to go the funny, crazy way.
I hope they do. I really do.
Also, by the way, just to let you know, Korath, which is played by Jimon Hansu, is also coming back as his role as well.
Nice. I like him. He's a very under the radar actor.
He really is,
sneakily
honestly.
really, really good.
So Ronan accuses people. Your next guy accuses the king that his father killed his father.
Yes, in a way. That actually never happens in the comic book.
Okay, cool.
So just blew your transition out of the water.
Oh, it totally did.
So mine is Killmonger from Black Panther.
Okay.
I saw the movie recently, and I honestly, after seeing it, Michael B. Jordan, taking away all of my love for Michael B. Jordan, I know your love for Michael B. Jordan, Killmonger was like, it was one of my favorite villains of the MCU so far.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because he's like the only villain that's had like real conflict about
Legit, like his conflict was like real as fuck.
Yeah, it was like his entire life like boils down to him being this fucking villain, and he's like, not that he ever doubts what he's doing, but he's always like, it's my people or it's the entire other, like the world.
Right.
And so in the comics, so he first appeared in Jungle Action, which was apparently Black Panther before it was called Black Panther.
Jungle Action.
Yes.
Fuck.
Jungle Action Volume 2, Issue 6 in 1973.
Okay.
So actually a little fun fact about Black Panther. The group, like the Black Panthers, didn't come out until after the Black Panther comic had already been out.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so Black
I
Panther
had no idea.
The Black Panther the comic was out before Black Panther the group. So Killmonger first, I'll just jump right back in. Killmonger first appeared in Jungle Action, and his birth name is actually Nanjaka, and he's like the arch nemesis of Black Panther. He's like, he's like Whiplash is to Iron Man. He's like the fucking guy. And he's actually a native to Wakanda. He was born there in the comics.
Okay.
And
so that's still accurate.
Yeah, he was there most of his life too.
Oh, okay. So not.
So at one point, this is where it completely derails from the movies, from the comics. Mercenaries attack Wakanda, and they pressure Nanjaka's father into helping them.
Okay.
And that whole like mercenary group was led by Andy Serkis.
Oh, Claw? Nice.
Yes.
Okay, sweet.
So Claw goes way back with these people. So Claw's mercenary group takes Nanjaka and his father and basically forces Nanjaka's father to work with them.
Okay.
After that, they basically get defeated in Wakanda by Black Panther and the army. And
by T'Chaka or T'Challa?
T'Challa.
Okay.
So in the comic book, T'Chaka is never, that's Black Panther's dad in the movie.
Right. Yeah.
T'Chaka is never really a part of exiling them or killing anybody, really. Like he's already...
Is he dead?
He's already dead by then.
Oh shit. So T'Challa is basically in the entire...
So T'Challa is the one, and that's who we see in Black Panther, like the Chadwick...
Boseman.
Yeah. That's T'Challa. So T'Challa exiles them And ever since then, Nunjaka has like done everything he can to learn how to defeat T'Challa in Black Panther, because like he fucking hates him. He thinks that T'Challa is like a bullshit king, and he's steering them down more of a modern thing, and Killmonger wants to get back to the roots, like back to how they used to live. So he like completely disagrees with him, and he fucking hates him because he exiled him. Okay. So I know in the movie, T'Challa and N'Jaka were first cousins.
Right.
So in the comics, they're not related at all.
Okay.
So that's like a complete opposite of what's in the movie, what's in the comic book. So eventually, so he's actually exiled to Harlem, New York, like the slums of New York City for some reason.
Okay.
And this is when he like tries to figure out how to defeat T'Challa. And so he goes to MIT, becomes like this fucking military mastermind. And it's actually funny because like in the movie, when you first see N'Jaka, they're in the art gallery or whatever.
Yeah.
And he takes that mask at the end. That mask is actually the exact mask that he wears in the comic book.
Oh shit, Easter egg.
Yeah. So he wears like a green suit and he wears that mask, like identical mask.
Dude, I fucking love that scene where he's like, when Claw asks him, he's like, "Is that Wakanda too?" He's like, "Nah, I'm just feeling it."
Yeah. Yeah. So that definitely an Easter egg calling back to the comic book, the mask that he wears. So eventually he contacts T'Challa. Eric Killmonger contacts T'Challa and says like, "Hey man, can I come back?" Like basically, I'm paraphrasing. He says, "Hey man, can I come back?" Yeah. T'Challa repatriates Killmonger back to Wakanda, and he settles in this village, and this village like makes him the fucking governor or whatever. They rename the village to N'Jaka Village in his honor. Okay. So during this time, he starts to like come up with these ideals where he wants to rid Wakanda of the white colonists, which I feel like is never touched on in the movie.
No.
Like that racial issue of him, he fucking hates white people in the comics.
I feel like he kind of touched on that in the movie.
They do a little bit, because I know he says in the movie, he says there's people that look like us and need help, and we have the means to help them. That's like the only time it touches on the black-white racial issue.
No, because he talks to the British Museum curator, and he's like, "Did your people ask to buy it when they took it?" You know, I feel like there was still a lot of colonial. I think they touched on it pretty well.
They did, yeah. In the comic book, apparently they just come out and say that he hates white people. So.
Okay, yeah, he definitely didn't say that in the movie.
No, so he goes into Wakanda and basically says he wants to rid Wakanda of the white colonists.
Are there white people in Wakanda?
I guess there are. In the comic book, there are.
Okay, because there's only Martin Freeman.
Yeah.
Oh, and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, at the end. Spoiler.
Spoilers.
After I've already said it, spoiler. But like while Black Panther is absent and he's off in America fighting with the Avengers, Killmonger stages a coup and was defeated by Black Panther. Like Black Panther comes back, defeats Killmonger, and kills him.
Oh shit!
This is when it gets really fucking weird.
Okay,
so the Mandarin actually claims his body and uses one of his rings. uses one of his rings to bring Killmonger back to life. And so Killmonger returns to Wakanda, is plotting to kill Black Panther. Meanwhile, Tony Stark and Jim Rhodes is just visiting Wakanda for some reason. So Killmonger is like, "Oh, this is a perfect opportunity to frame these white people." And well, I guess one of them is white, because is it Rhodes?
Yeah, I was gonna say is Rhodes black in the comic?
I don't know if he is. So I guess assuming that that Jim Rhodes is black in the comic. It never says.
I couldn't find anything.
So, like, Killmonger's plan was to frame at least Tony Stark for it. But actually, Black Panther, like, comes back and says that he surprise, I faked my death, like every fucking Marvel comic. And, like, Killmonger is, like, embarrassed. And at that point, the Mandarin recalls his ring and turns Killmonger back into a flat out skeleton. And he's just,
what?
He's dead from then on. Yeah, like,
okay.
So let me rephrase that. He's not dead for sure, because later on in different issues, like, he gets resurrected by his like his town that adopted him.
Okay.
And like renamed him to Najaka town or whatever it was.
Najaka town, yeah. Yeah, so off of Black Panther, man, I was gonna go straight into my next one because I don't have a smooth transition for this one. So I as a longtime Spider-Man fan, I told Kevin it would be remiss of me to not do this villain. And it's Spider-Man's second villain ever, and that's Adrian Toomes, the Vulture. So the Vulture's origin in the comics is a bit different, but at the same time, it kind of goes along the same lines as how it is in the movie. So in the comic, Toomes is actually an electrical engineer, and he designs his own suit and harness that allows him to fly. Where in the beginning of the movie, we see that like the Tinkerer is like the one that like makes all of the stuff. It's like
they're getting like the alien shit from Avengers,
right? Like Adrian Toomes is kind of like a contractor. Yeah. They're getting the Chitauri stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So he actually starts in the comic. He starts an electronics firm with a business partner who ultimately betrays him and sells the company. So his humble criminal beginnings mostly deal with theft because he steals from his ex-business partner. But his first like criminal career wasn't really a bustling one, considering one of his first major robberies was immediately foiled by Spider-Man, who disabled his wings, and then Vulture went straight to prison. Like there was no like like medium like I'm the Vulture. It was just like, oh, Spider-Man, okay, I'm in jail now.
He didn't even get to announce what villain he was. It's like an MCU thing. Like you don't even know who he is by this point.
Yeah, so not a good look for the Vulture. So eventually when he was in prison, like his criminal woes got to him. He eventually became one of the founding members of the Sinister Six. So Sinister Six was actually founded by Dr. Octopus, Sandman, Mysterio, Electro, and Kraven the Hunter, and then obviously Vulture. So they try to fight Spider-Man, but idiots that the 1960s villains were, they each attacked Spidey one at a time, and then they all went back to prison.
They attack him one at a time. They send him a telegram that they're coming, and they also like send him a map of where they're going to be.
They send him like a calendar invite, like fight with Doc Ock 1 to 2 p.m. All right, now I know. So again, this kind of ends the whole career of Adrian. It's weird because it literally ends Adrian Toomes' career as the Vulture for now.
Oh shit!
Like he after the Sinister Six battle, he goes back to jail and he's like, all right, I can't be the Vulture anymore. So it actually ends up being passed to Blackie Drago, which is his cellmate. Don't even. Which is his cellmate. So Drago actually asks Toomes like where his location of his extra pair of wings are, and Drago eventually gets out of prison and becomes the Vulture. He finds the wings, and he's Vulture for like a good while.
Are they wings in a sense like the movie is? Because isn't it?
Yeah,
they're more like robotic wings in the movie.
Yeah, they look like legit wings in the comics, but they're robot wings with like a harness that makes him like levitate and shit.
Okay, because they look like fucking eagle wings or something.
Yeah, the old costume is like literally like a green like bird suit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so while Drago's like out being Vulture, Adrian Toomes actually gets out of prison and he confronts and defeats Drago. when Drago's in battle with Spider-Man. So he kind of swoops in at like the last minute. He defeats him. He's like, I'm the Vulture, bitch.
Finally gets to tell him who he is.
Yeah. So from here on out, honestly, I'm going to be real with you. Like, after reading about Vulture, he's kind of a bitch. And he basically always has to team up with another villain who has like to just get like a small fucking chance to defeat Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's like an up and coming YouTube star or something. He's like constantly latching on to like more popular people. And it's like, hey man, you want to collab? You want to collab on this shit?
Exactly.
And Dr. Octopus is like, no, Vulture, fuck off.
He's like, I'm assembling a team.
It's like, how many subscribers do you have?
So, honestly, like throughout most of his publication history, he seems like way too stupid, and he just couldn't make up his mind on what he wanted to be. He kind of was like good at a point too, so it just like it didn't make sense. And then he also has identity stolen by 3 other people, so he's like a legit old person.
This
like,
guy is having a bad time.
A bad time is a fucking villain. So, 3 other people took over the mantle as Vulture. So obviously we have Drago and everything. I just think Khal Drogo. I don't know why.
I think Draco Malfoy.
Oh, Draco Malfoy. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we have. I can't even say this name without laughing. It's Clifton Shallot, not the Onion.
That's a fucking white name right there. Clifton
Shallot.
And
then finally we have, and this Vulture is actually pretty fucking cool. It's Jimmy Natal, and he's more of a vigilante. Oh, and he's a cannibal who eats and kills the criminals that he faces.
Damn. That was a crazy, by the way.
Yeah. So I definitely prefer Michael Keaton's portrayal of Vulture. I think that Vulture version is 1,000% better than the comic. And I think it's putting Adrian Toomes on the right path. Like, I liked his overall story arc. I liked the beginning before the movie even started, really. I liked his whole progression of like, I'm a thief and I'm just stealing shit because I think fuck Tony Stark and fuck that I can't be the one to actually be able to do this.
Yeah.
Like to reap the benefits of total destruction. So yeah, Michael Keaton Vulture is way better than the comic for sure.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Michael Keaton version of the Vulture. It makes me sad hearing about how much of a bitch he is because you gave me that Vulture statue when you left me here in Arizona.
Yeah,
and now
right?
it's like I have the statue of a fucking bitch now.
That's true.
Now
yeah,
I know where I stand. How about that?
I completely forgot about the Vulture statue that I left you.
You were just like, oh, my van's too packed. I gotta unload some of this shit. I'll give away this fucking bitch ass Vulture. Actually,
I wouldn't be mad at reclaiming that. So if you ever send something my way, you could throw that in the box.
I'll send it back to you. Now that I know how much of a bitch he is.
My guy flies as a vulture. Your guy flies as a fucking bug. Both these motherfuckers fly. What's your next guy for me, man?
Mine's like a 5 for, because I have to really explain some of this backstory to make you understand Yellow Jacket.
Okay.
Who in the comic is like, he has some real internal battles over whether he's a villain or whether he's a good guy. And I feel like in the movie, he's just a bad guy.
For no reason.
Yeah. So kind of like in the movie, at this point, this is like early 1960s. Hank Pym is the Ant-Man.
Okay.
And during this run of Ant-Man comics, he has these like hardcore identity issues. Because he's never taken seriously because he's so small. Like, yeah, he's powerful, but he's always considered like one of the weaker Avengers, especially in the comic books. So he has these crazy identity issues. And after like the first run of Ant-Man, he becomes Giant Man. And so he becomes 12 feet tall and starts calling himself Giant Man. And at that point, he starts to form a relationship with the Wasp, who in the movies, like they it works out a little different because like Hank Pym develops the Wasp outfit in Ant-Man the movie. It's a little different in the comic books. Like she already has it. And
Oh no, I think they have it. Remember, he's telling the story about like him and his like wife or whatever.
yeah, but in the comic books, they're not together when she gets the Wasp outfit.
Oh, so she makes her own outfit.
Right. So in the comics, it kind of flashes back to him fighting like side by side as Ant-Man with Iron Man and Thor, and he's like, he becomes like really self-conscious of the whole Ant-Man getup,
Yeah.
and he's like, fuck, I can't ever be as powerful as these people. So that's when he becomes his new identity, Goliath, who is like a taller version of Giant Man.
Oh shit, I didn't know Goliath was also Ant-Man and Giant Man.
Yes. So he has some real issues with the Avengers. So he's actually one of the original Avengers, which I didn't know.
Yes. Yeah.
He's one of the original Avengers, and he has like a nervous breakdown every couple years and just takes like a leave of absence from the Avengers. And between Giant Man and Goliath, he actually takes like a long, long break of being an Avenger.
Oh shit, okay.
And like a couple issues that he has as Goliath, like he's just not as nimble or not as fast, so he has some self-esteem issues. So he creates, we actually talked about this last week, he creates the robot Ultron.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it says like it accidentally achieves sentience. So it's like, wow, damn, it actually accidentally achieves like Skynet level abilities.
Yeah.
Like he really fucked up with Ultron.
Totally.
So Ultron actually becomes like one of the Avengers' greatest foes. Like they're
Right.
constantly fighting Ultron, and Pym is like, fuck, I really fucked up with Ultron, I'm sorry. So at that point, he's like testing these chemicals, and some of it just like happens to splash in his face.
Always.
And yeah, in comic
Wear your
book
safety
fashion,
goggles, kids.
yeah, in comic book fashion, it splashes in his face, and he gets not a superpower, he gets schizophrenia.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, complete opposite of a superpower. And he becomes the Yellow Jacket. So Hank Pym is actually the first Yellow Jacket. He's the first villain
Of his own franchise.
Yeah. So Hank Pym becomes the Yellow Jacket, and he has like this completely different, obviously he's schizophrenic, he has this completely different outlook. Like he's really cocky. Like Pym is actually a quiet guy, like very smart. His Yellow Jacket persona is like really cocky, like really fucking never thinks before he does anything. It's just
Right.
like a complete opposite of Pym. So at one point, the Wasp like realizes that it's Yellow Jacket because like he's in his costume the entire time, so nobody knows that Yellow Jacket is Pym.
Okay.
Except the Wasp. She realizes it and takes advantage of his mental state by like forcing him to marry her. So like he forces he forces him into marriage.
Jesus. That's
So-
her first reaction. She's like, man, he's a bad guy. Time to marry him.
Yeah. So he actually goes on like a bunch of different missions with the Avengers as Yellow Jacket.
So he's not evil?
He's not evil yet until he like takes out a guy, a bad guy, mind you, but he takes out a guy and the guy gives up and Yellow Jacket kills him. Like he just fucking straight up kills him. This is part of the Avengers.
Okay.
And Captain America like takes away his Avengership, I guess you could call it.
Okay.
He takes away his Avengership, and Yellow Jacket has like a fucking breakdown, like a straight up breakdown, and he starts to build a robot, Salvation One, and he has this whole plan as Yellow Jacket to have this robot attack the Avengers, and he's going to come in and save the day and exploit the only weakness that he put into this robot.
This sounds like the Incredibles, like the bad guy syndrome.
Yeah.
When he fights the giant robot, he has like all the buttons to like break apart the robot.
Yeah. So the Wasp gets word of his plan and like begs him to stop. And that's when it gets like really dark. Like he beats her because of this. Yeah, like it turns into a domestic violence situation. He beats her, and like at that point, like he's not a part of the Avengers. You rarely hear from him anymore. And then he finally comes back and redeems himself. He fixes his mental issues and starts an Avengers Academy for young people who have superpowers. So now he's kind of passed the torch on to the new Ant-Man, Scott, which is actually the Ant-Man in the movies, and Michael Douglas now is like Professor X or something.
Right.
So,
Fuck.
Yeah, that's
sweet,
also...
man.
Also with like Darren Cross, he is not... Like his backstory is not like connected at all to the regular Yellow Jacket. In the movie, it kind of mixes the two backstories of him as Yellow Jacket and Darren Cross's backstory as well.
Oh, sweet.
So Darren Cross does actually become Yellow Jacket in the comics, but it's like a combination of both Yellow Jackets in the comic book and the movie. It's just like, oh, Darren Cross is Yellow Jacket. Never mentioning that Pym was like Yellow Jacket and this fucking crazy villain and stuff.
I actually would have liked it better if Michael Douglas kind of like did like the whole got in the suit thing. I think that would have been cooler.
Yeah, and I like the whole time I'm reading this about how Hank Pym was a bad guy, I'm like, Michael Douglas, no.
Yeah, he would
all I
have definitely.
can think of is like Michael Douglas like committing all of these like first of all beating his wife.
Jesus, yeah.
Like, damn, Michael Douglas.
Yeah, he definitely could have pulled this off. Although I think like he's like way too like old to be really like, at least in the movie, to be like super evil, you know?
Yeah, definitely. He's like too senile to be a master villain.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so before we close things up, I have one last question for you, Kevin. What's your preferred villain? Evil till the end or redeemed?
I'm a big fan of a redeemed villain.
Okay.
I'm like the person that always has hope for somebody. That's why when
you're like the Luke
Killmonger-
Skywalker to Darth Vader, they're still good at him.
Yeah, that's why when at the end of Black Panther, spoiler, I know this is new, but when Killmonger gets killed, at the end,
His
I'm
name
thinking,
gave it away.
Yeah, I'm thinking like, damn, he really could have redeemed himself right there. And I know it's like not like the comic at all, but fought alongside Black Panther would have been cool.
Yeah, that I would have definitely been down for that.
Because then we get more Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. All right, cool, guys. Well, if you guys haven't noticed, we do have our t-shirts up on sale now. We actually are doing a giveaway, so definitely go ahead and go to our Gleam account. You could follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and we have the information on there. So yeah, follow Twitter and Instagram at Wicked Hot Talk, as well as subscribing on iTunes. And of course, guys, always give us that 5-star review, or just the 5 stars. Helps us out, gets us on the iTunes charts, gets us out there. And yeah, and if you have any other things about villains or other guys that we wanted to carry, let us know. Give us a shout on the Twitter and the Instagram, and let us know. And Kevin, I think you had an announcement before we close things out for today.
Yes,
okay.
I dropped this spoiler. I said I had an announcement like a week ago, and I didn't tell you what it was.
Yeah, no, I don't know what it is.
So, all of our episodes are now back on YouTube. So all of our Wicked Hot, like the last 13 episodes, are back on YouTube. So the schedule is going to be
okay, cool.
The schedule is going to be Mondays for the iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, like any audio version. Tuesday is going to be when the YouTube version comes out. So you can now watch our entire podcast, all of our backlog, on YouTube.
Okay, sweet. And how can they find us on YouTube? Is there a
just search Wicked Hot.
Okay.
Or Wicked
Cool.
Hot Podcast.
Okay, sweet. So awesome. Now we got the audio versions on YouTube as well, if you guys listen to YouTube ever or watch it. And yeah, again, guys, we have the t-shirts out. So let us know. We have one couple for the Infinity War Marvel month. I think, Kevin, I don't know yet, but I think we have some more in the pipeline that will be released concurrently with the new episodes.
Yes.
So if they're not out already, they will be in a couple days. So just wait. Be patient.
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know if you have anything else for me, man, but I think that does it for another Wicked Hot Marvel Month episode, Marvel Villains, and we will see you next week.
Bye, everybody.